Someone has to keep in track of how many episodes there are. Hello, welcome to the Yaoi Shelf.
Hello.
If you are watching this video, Sansa's being a very good boy.
Yes.
And your hosts are
Look at
matching.
him. Yeah, we're matching. TwitterCon represent. I am 5 days out from a con.
You are.
The organizer life is busy.
It always is. It always is. But
It's crazy.
I decided to show a little solidarity for Carola, who's been
you.
working very, very hard. So at least now, when she doesn't answer my messages, I know it's because of TwitterCon.
Yeah. And not like me just
and not like Ken Porsche or skating or something.
Dead in a ditch watching Ken Porsche. Also,
right.
just getting it out of the system. I don't know if you saw, but our favorite Ice Prince just randomly announced his marriage, just like everyone have been joking that he would, and the world has just tilted. I'm very happy for him. Congrats, Yuzu, but also I'm pretty sure he got married to skating. We don't know who this person is.
This person isn't real. This person isn't real. He is married to the rink. It is literally Yuri on Ice. We are both very tired.
Yes. I mean, tired is such a loaded term. I'm not that tired. I'm heavily caffeinated and stressed.
Valid.
It's okay.
Valid. I have stuff happening because I've had to be. So here's a fun peek behind the curtain for me. I am the kind of millennial that doesn't know what to do with downtime. So my friend and I are thinking of starting another show.
No, you're not allowed. I am putting my foot down, Amanda. Get some fucking rest.
Never. Speaking of no rest for the wicked, Carola, what are we talking about today?
Oh God, we're talking about fanfic writing tropes.
Yeah,
because we love talking about writing. I mean, I for one will not talk so much about writing today because I don't write fanfic anymore.
I guess I'll be talking a lot today because I just released a fanfic last week.
Yeah, like Amanda's going to carry this entire episode as per usual. No. And I will try to I don't even have words anymore. I will try to supply my thoughts where I can.
Yes.
But I mean, I don't write fanfic anymore, not because I look down on it or because I don't like it, but I just don't know how to do it anymore.
Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that because I think one thing that is really, really interesting, and I feel like, so, again, another peek behind the curtain. Here's 2 peeks behind the curtain. When we come up with episode ideas, oftentimes, sometimes there is like this grand thought out, like, oh, we're looking at SEO and trends and stuff like that. Like sometimes it is like the Wolf of Wall Street and we're like being really, really smart. Most of the time we keep bringing this thing up in episodes and I was like, we should finally just fucking talk about it, right?
Yeah, like we basically talked about this every single episode. Why don't we do an episode about it?
Right, like it's one of the reasons why we did the gravitation episode so quickly is because we wouldn't stop talking about gravitation. It's one of the reasons why we started talking about fanfic in general was because we realized that, especially with, this is going to sound shady, having a co-host that actually likes BL and Yaoi, that we had this thing in common, but then for whatever reason, I decided to dip my toes back into it, I guess because I need attention.
And as for me, I fell face first into Kin Porsche and couldn't get enough. And now I'm up all night reading fanfic. And so now I actually know some things about fanfic in the year of 2023. So I can actually contribute.
So, I feel like, as we started talking about writing, as we started talking about this stuff, one thing came to mind is that we learned writing from the same book. We collectively, Fujin collectively learned how to write from the same book.
Yes.
And every problem you see in fan or even now works is a miscopy of the same book.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about that today because that's one thing that I think is the most fascinating because, I was raised in a Catholic household. And one of the things that the Catholic Church was really, really big on was that only priests could read the Bible.
Right.
Because they didn't trust other people to read the Bible. Like, they didn't trust people to read it. So I almost get that, because look what happened when everyone started reading the Bible and had all these crazy, like, oh, and God says he hates gays. It's like, he never said that. He literally never said that. Like, most of the modern prejudices we have are because of one guy's mistranslation of the Bible, King James the First.
I believe you.
Thank you. Bible scholar Amanda.
Yeah, you're my, this is my Bible study. I don't know anything. I have no choice but to trust you. So,
Yes.
you know.
So, but fanfic ended up with the same thing. Like, we all were copying off of someone's test.
Oh yeah.
all of us, thousands of us.
And we, and I say this even though I don't write fic anymore, still do it.
We still
apparently.
Do it. We still fucking do it.
I am, oh my god, I'm so excited to talk more about this all month, because I am shooketh. I came back after more than a decade and I was
and
like,
it feels the
what?
Same. Nothing has changed.
Like, some of the phrasings have changed, and like some of the things that people are copying of each other are different, yes, but it's the exact same formula. It's the
same. It's the craziest thing.
I'm so fascinated. It is so interesting to me.
So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that a lot today. So grab yourself a snack, get a glass of water. Like, this is going to be
some
the
water.
Yes. Also, Patreon.
Yes.
These videos are incredibly demonetized and will be demonetized forever because we talk about sensitive subjects. If you would like to support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/the Shelf. Again, that is patreon.com/the Shelf. If you'd like to keep the metaphorical and physical lights going, patrons get some really, really cool merch and special opportunities, including voting on our Halloween costume this year.
Yes. And I did do my homework. I just didn't message you about it.
I did not do my homework. And I did not message myself about it. So we'll follow up.
Yes.
I've been working on CitrusCon stuff.
Yeah. We're going to CitrusCon. And I'm trying really hard. I mean, I'm very excited for CitrusCon. Don't get me wrong. I'm super excited. I can't wait to do it. But also, I don't want to think about anything that is beyond TourCon right now. I'm like,
no, I totally
con at a time.
I totally get it. So that's some of the stuff that's coming up. We'll, mention again at the end of the show, because there's a lot happening right now. Like, we genuinely, when we keep saying like there's a lot going on, there's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on.
One more thing that I think is necessary to bring up at the start of the show, and that is, Carola, would you like to tell the listeners at home what we can finally announce after months of work?
Wait, which one of the things? I don't want to say the wrong one.
The collab one.
The collab one? Okay.
The collab one.
Yes. We have, I mean, we've already talked about this a little bit in our socials.
We have.
But we have a very, very exciting collab happening this month with our beloved Yiggy Bean Books. Yay!
Love Yiggy Bean.
Amanda worked really hard on a special design that I finally got to see and hold in my own hands recently. I am very happy.
Thank you. Yeah, so every order that you place with Yiggy Bean while supplies last comes with a special little freebie from us. So go give Yiggy Bean some love, buy some stuff. Honestly, when we started the show, or when I started the show, and Carola sealed herself to me via magical contract.
Sounds about right. Right. I'm not sure what happened, but I'm still here. So
when Carola Kyokata mowed her way into my life.
Technically, that wasn't me.
When Kasaka Kyokata mowed Carola into my life.
They flushed me into your life.
Yiggy Bean is the exact kind of partner that we've always wanted to work with.
Yeah.
Yiggy Bean is exactly the kind of company, person, people that we've always wanted to work with. Mm-hmm. So go support them.
Yeah,
and get
please.
yourself an exclusive sticker. One that my best friend stole promptly. Like she was over at my apartment picking me up before I went to the beach, and she's like, "Yoink!" And it's like my co-host doesn't even have one of these yet.
Yeah, and you told me, and I was like, before me? I'll get mine in like August, which, surprise, I got it in
Right,
August.
in August. Also,
It's
Carola's
a very cool freebie.
yes. Also, Carola's birthday gift arrived, which means I finally got to tell her the very, very funny story
Yeah,
about her
listen,
gift.
he's right here. I got a lot of very nice things in that gift, but clearly, if you're a
Right.
listener only, Amanda got me a Tamaki plush,
It
and he's
did.
my life, and you have to tell the listeners the story because it is like the funniest thing I've ever heard.
So
Poor baby.
so Carola sent me her wish list like a good girl, like I asked, you know.
After
And
you harassed me for weeks because
after harassing you for weeks, I got your wish list. And of course there was a Tamaki plushie, and I'm like, well, obviously I have to get her son. I'm not happy about it because now my Amazon thinks I love My Hero Academia, and I don't. So now my Amazon keeps trying to get me to buy My Hero Academia stuff.
so not only are you getting Miritama on your Twitter feed, but now
now Amazon's like, this bitch loves Bokulaka. Like, no. But so the manga part arrived first, and then Tamaki was actually running late. I'm like, oh shit, like is he gonna arrive at the time I get
sounds like Tamaki.
Yeah, he was running late. He was supposed to I think he was supposed to be like shipped within 24 hours, he was within 48. So he was running late. And I'm getting ready to leave, and there's this knock at the door, and I look, and there's like an Amazon guy like right across my threshold, and I look down, and just in his plastic is Tamaki face up on my doormat that says the village witch lives here. Like someone dropped him off, like fucking Hansel and Gretel. Like someone dropped off this baby in a basket on my doorstep.
I love that he didn't even come in a box. He was just
he wasn't in a box. He was
like
the
label on it.
Yeah, and not even a label, just in his fucking, like someone stole him from Hot Topic and put him on my doorstep. And I look at the Amazon guy, and he's like, "Don't worry, the little man arrives safely." And it's like,
I think Tamaki disagrees with that. He's, as you can see, he's very upset.
He's clearly traumatized.
He's still suffering. And then he had to be stuffed in a box and shipped for,
days across the
days.
But that's enough preamble and lubing up. Let's talk about fanfic.
Yes.
All right. Let's get this out of the way. We clearly love talking about writing.
Oh yeah.
I really love it so much.
Super confident in talking about my writing skills and the work that I do as a writer.
Let's go over a definition first, because I feel like this is necessary. We need to have the building blocks in place so we can build our house. You can't just build a house out of, hopes, dreams, thoughts, and prayers. You got to have a foundation.
Unless you're actually, unless you're in the practical fanfic world. I didn't know what a trope was for the longest time. I didn't even know the word. And I don't know if that is a foreigner thing or if it's just that I'm an idiot.
It might be a foreigner thing. But to be blunt, a trope is a word or expression used in a figurative sense, a figurative speech, or a common or overused theme or device. You, as listener reader, probably know what a trope is before you knew how to define it as a trope. You can see it in everything. Do you remember during the 2000s, the 2010s, where every superhero movie ended with a blue sky beam?
No, because I haven't watched a lot of superhero movies.
Listeners at home do. Every superhero movie for like the 2010s, for whatever reason, had like a blue sky beam. That's a trope. Racial coding in mystical creatures is a trope that you can blame Tolkien for. Tolkien is the reason we have fantasy racism. All of these things that we, the MacGuffin, which I've discussed in earlier episodes, is a trope. All these things are tropes. You probably know what a trope is before you knew what the word is. And when we say that we're dissecting fanfic tropes, it's the things that have been seemingly carried through generations that have either changed or remained the same, while writing fanfic. And I think it's important to key off on immediately is that trope from a media critic term is neutral.
Mm-hmm.
It's not negative, it's not positive, it's overused. And if it's overused, it's typically overused for a reason because it's easy. Easy does not mean bad. Look at me. Easy does not mean bad.
Oh my God.
That was good. You have to give me credit.
Okay. Sure.
Thank you. It's low-hanging fruit. That doesn't necessarily make it evil. One of the things that I hate about like lazy armchair media criticism is that if a work has a lot of tropes, they'll try to make it sound like it's the super unoriginal and bad writing. It's not. Everything has genre tropes. Every genre has tropes. Tropes have tropes. It's not negative, but it sometimes can feel really, really stale if you go through all of those pieces in a very linear fashion.
Yeah.
And
then, of course, we all have tropes that we like versus tropes we dislike. And if you keep running into a trope that you don't like, you're going to have negative feelings about it. That doesn't mean that tropes are a bad thing. It just means that that particular trope is not your cup of tea.
Right, exactly. And I want to preface this not where the outline starts, but with a little bit of history from the two of us that I think better elucidates this point. I started writing fan fiction when I was like 12.
Same.
It was all handwritten back then. We didn't really have word processors.
I was writing on an old Windows 95 computer and then
I did eventually upgrade to a word processor, but it took me some time. I still have a lot of my old fics on paper. But I think one thing that's very, very important to mention is that many of us started very young. Many of us already were writers. So like I was in this dumb like poetry collective thing where I got one poem published in like an anthology when I was in fifth grade. So like many of us already were writers, or what you consider yourself to be a writer at fucking 12. You know, you wrote angsty lyrics in your Trapper Keeper. You know, whatever we did to consider ourselves writers at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. But it was something that we already had a predisposition for, a liking for. But many of us started young. And there's something very, very important in that. If you look at nature, young creatures learn by imitating their elders. And that's what we did. We learned by copying our fandom elders. They were the ones that were producing culture. It wasn't us kids. So like when you hear Carola and I talk about like pro ship, anti ship, and like minors in adult spaces, it's one of the reasons why it's so hard for us to like wrap our heads around, is because it's so radically different than what we grew up.
Yeah, because we were the minors.
We were the minors in adult spaces, and like we weren't out there announcing ourselves. We weren't like, I'm a child in your space. Like, we sat there on the periphery like fucking rats.
Yeah, and if you left a comment, you were so afraid that they were gonna think that you were young and stupid and not articulate enough or whatever, because you admired these people so much. Like,
these people were agents of culture. They were the gods of this religion. Because you were stupid, you couldn't write fanfic.
I mean, that didn't stop you from trying and publishing it on the internet. But you were not the top tier list in your fandom of choice. You were somewhere in the ditches.
Yeah. You know, you're passing handwritten pieces of paper to your friends in between periods of school.
Yeah.
But like you can tell that we were definitely too young to be in this space. You can tell that many of us were inexperienced.
You think?
Well, yeah, we were 12.
I don't know about you. When I was 12, no. I was actually quite innocent at 12. Yeah.
Yeah, I was an awful little potato at 12. just a miserable little potato at 12 years old. But like you could see that we were all writing from the same like ledger, because now you can see that vestigial growth everywhere. So with that in mind, that many of us started writing fan fiction when we were young, many of us before we hit puberty, many of us writing for genders that we are not ascribed to at birth. That's going to become important later in the episode.
That's important in every episode.
It is. But it is in those roots that you see where we are now, where I've been writing fan fiction for 20 years. And while I can say that my work is better, it has not really deviated from a formula I set up when I was 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It still follows the exact same linear progression of initial contact, foreplay, desperate search for lubricant, fucking to completion, and then done. That is a timeline that I carved in my memory when I was 17 years old, 16 more like it. And that has not changed.
Yeah, and I mean, I still do the same. Like, I may not write fanfic, but I'm still a writer, and I still hone and, you know, constantly polish the skills that I learned through fanfic writing. But when I write smut scenes, those in particular were shaped by what I consumed and what I looked up to as a young teen. Like, clearly writing it a lot better now and trying to change it up a bit so it's not all like the same scene with different characters. But like, I have like, one thing is that the pattern, you know, like you said, like it's carved out, like there's a linear progression there that I follow, but also because I have preferences. And I tend to stick to those preferences and not be particularly adventurous, although now I'm expanding. But that came from somewhere, and it came from fan fiction.
Right. And it's so funny because, like, you know, the term like multi-shipper, like someone who does like a bunch of different ships, like the idea that you ever just did like one ship, like that's like your whole thing. Like, I don't understand that. Like, there's artists that I would follow on my smut Twitter who's like, I only do Bakugo and Deku for some reason. And it's like, first of all, that's a bad choice. Second of all,
Amanda, be kind.
No.
What
was that entreating? Like, you genuinely trying to get emotion out of me, the Wicked Witch of the Southwest.
Because we do not shame people's
yes, we do.
On this channel. No, we don't. Get your ass off the SS Gaslight right now.
No, stop this is my home.
I'm getting the squirt bottle.
I live here. I live on the SS Gaslight. This is my house.
I didn't realize it was a houseboat.
It is. It's a houseboat. So I live in the lower decks.
But
like in an American Tale.
Oh my god. Don't bring that up. It makes me sad. I am sad. What the fuck, Don Bluth? Like, just what? What was that dude's problem? Why did everything have to be so fucking sad?
I love Don Bluth. Here's the thing about Don Bluth. Don Bluth never wanted to be Walt Disney. He wanted to be Ralph Bakshi. But everyone kept trying to make Don Bluth Walt Disney. And you can tell that because all of his movies are so Disney until the very end, where it's a terrifying nightmare sequence.
Unless the terrifying nightmare sequence is at the beginning.
Yes.
What is the name? The lad. No. Oh my god, Rockadoodle. I love Rockadoodle so much. Please, you don't understand. The Norwegian dub is the funny. Like, it's like my favorite dub on the planet. It is so funny. I love that.
Did we just find something else that we can bond over? I love Rockadoodle.
Oh my god! Listen, Hunch is my favorite. That horrible little vulture.
Oh, I love Rockadoodle. We're not talking about.
No, but I was just gonna say that the Land Before Time, the friggin' chase scene with the T-Rex in the thorns in like the bushes. Fucking terrifying. I saw that in the cinema when I was like 5 years old. Traumatized me for life.
Scary. That was so scary.
It was
And then the
terrifying.
original voice actress for Ducky was horribly murdered by her father.
Yeah, I know. I was
Anyways.
I was listening to a podcast that mentioned that the other day, even though, you know, I've obviously knew this already, but it was just suddenly there.
Yeah,
Again.
she was murdered horribly by her dad.
Terrible.
But, you know, and so that's something I also love to pick up on is you can tell where our roots are based on what we write. So I was getting somewhere like the whole like being a multi-shipper thing.
Yeah, right.
Like, I just released fics based on what I want to write. Like I don't have like a theme. I don't have like an oeuvre. Like I just like I want to see these characters fuck and I do it.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing increasingly. So like I know I have a type. I'm not delusional. I have written the same pairing 3 or 4 different times with different characters. Like I am so stuck in this one niche type of pairing, which is usually black cat boyfriend and golden retriever boyfriend.
Yes.
I just realized I've been doing that forever.
Yeah.
And you know where that comes from? Sasunaru.
Yes. I mean, but they are the ultimate example of that pairing. Like they are, but then they fit. But there was a whole thing, like there was a huge flow chart of this on my Twitter feed like months ago, like because they fit so many of the tropes, and I love them. And we are not going to talk about Sasunaru, but you know how
we're not. But it's like it's so amazing because like I just did one. It was Jason Todd and Dick Grayson. Somehow that's golden retriever black cat. Matt and Mello is golden retriever black cat.
Yeah.
Every pairing I end up writing is some form of golden retriever black cat, except for the plant cest fic that I wrote, because it's all just black cats.
Yes.
It's just black cats on black cats. And a wolfwood that can't make Vash come.
Intriguing.
Yeah, I plant cested. It was fun.
I know.
It was really, really fun.
I mean, I know you did. I haven't read it yet because, you know, I'm still plowing.
So funny.
I'm like, still plowing through it.
Because, like, I look at everything that I wrote and it's like, it's the same thing, but with different characters.
Yeah.
I'm in my 30s. What the fuck?
But you have a type, or like you have...
I have a type. I aggressively have a type. And it's so weird to think about where those roots are. And it's Sasunaru. Because that was one of the first pairings that I found that I really, really like. You're a little gremlin. How dare you?
Listen, but you know how I feel. I literally started crying the other day because it was... I mean, not that I don't cry about Sasunaru on a regular basis, but I was scrolling through, I think it was like AniChart and like looking at upcoming series. And then I was on the site where they have all the shows that have been announced, but they don't have a date yet. And there's this new like Shinsaku Naruto thing coming out. It's like 4 episodes, but there's like a new like Naruto thing coming out because of the anniversary. And I just started crying. So that's where we're at.
But it's so crazy when I think about it that it's like, wow, I just cookie cutter my way into the exact same pairing type, and I've been doing this for over a decade. That's insane. And you can definitely tell the roots of a writer based on what they do. Like, you can tell my roots are in shonen series. You can tell my roots are in that I was a Don Bluth kid, not a Disney kid. Because everything's fucked up and horrible.
Oh my god. I guess that settles the debate on my part. I guess I was also a Don Bluth kid. Although I've never seen All Dogs Go to Heaven. And I don't plan on it because I don't think I could handle it. No, I don't want to. I don't want to.
I'm sorry. You really don't have a choice. Oh, I don't make the rules here.
What do you want me to suffer?
It's Burt fucking Reynolds.
It's Burt Reynolds?
Yes.
Oh my god. I didn't know that.
It's Gary Oldman, Burt Reynolds.
Actually, maybe I saw it when I was like really little, but I can't remember it, and it was probably dubbed. But
Yeah. No, 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 no,
I
no.
can't remember it at all.
No,
But
no, 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 no. You need to see. Okay.
oh
But yeah,
god,
like in hindsight, I wasn't a Disney kid. I was a Don Bluth kid, which is weird because I always thought that I was a Disney kid. That's not true. I was not a Disney kid. I was American Tail, Secrets and Nim, Land Before Time, Anastasia, Thumbelina, Rockadoodle.
oh, Rockadoodle. It's a masterpiece. It's so good.
The Pebble and the Penguin. Like, I was definitely a Don Bluth kid. And you can tell that in my writing that I clearly wasn't loved as a child.
Oh my god. I was loved as a child, and I'm still writing these horrible, heart-wrenching, painful, awful, angsty things. So I don't know.
Right.
But
It's
maybe that's
hilarious.
Don Bluth. Apparently,
He's still alive.
can I like ask him to pay for my therapy or something? Is that too late
Yes.
now? I
Yes.
think he needs to take some responsibility.
Don Bluth, this is all your fault.
Oh my god.
Fun fact, to this day, if I'm in a situation that I don't like, I will reference that Thumbelina movie where Carol Channing gaslights Thumbelina into marrying for money, where sometimes you just have to marry the mole. I will say that regularly.
I have no. I must have seen that.
You've seen Thumbelina.
I don't know.
So Carol Channing plays this, I think she's a frog who gaslights Thumbelina into marrying this rich old mole.
Because I know the story, because I had it in like a
Yeah.
storybook, and now I can't remember if
Yeah.
I've only read it or if I actually watched that film as a kid.
Okay. So the Don Bluth animated Thumbelina, yeah, Carol Channing gaslights Thumbelina into marrying a mole, and she basically says it like, yeah, love is great and all, but you gotta live. So she's like, sometimes you have to marry the mole. Like, you just like, it sucks, but like, he's rich. Like, just fucking marry the mole. Like, deal with it.
I see where your roots are, gaslighting from the tender age of like 5 or something.
And like, yeah, sometimes you just gotta marry the mole. Like, it sucks, but like, you just gotta do it sometimes.
Poor Thumbelina. I mean, I understand the sentiment. I do.
I do too. Like, Carol Channing makes some great points about gaslighting.
And this, dear listeners, is why we can't be monetized, among other things.
This is literally why.
Oh god.
Also, Chato's in that movie for some reason.
When was this? Was it the 90s, 80s?
Thumbelina was 1994.
Okay.
Yeah,
then
Chato's in that movie for some reason.
Wait,
And then yeah,
who made Fern Gully?
that was also Don Bluth.
Yeah, of course it was. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you also have the Tim Curry sexual awakening?
No, we've talked about this. I did not.
I
know
Oh,
you did.
it was not Don Bluth.
Was it?
It was Bill Croyer.
Oh. There's very strong Don Bluth vibes in my head.
Yeah, oozy sexual Tim Curry. We're not talking about fanfic.
I mean, by extension, there's fanfic out there for all of these, probably.
Rule 34. I love that the internet is just now discovering what Rule 34 is. Like, we had forgotten.
I never forgot.
The
things I've seen.
The things we have seen. But to bring it back to
our wills. Oh, God.
But to bring it back, you can see where our roots are. You can see in what we're watching. You can see, it's amazing to me when I go back and I read my old fic, because it's like such a weird little time capsule. Like, you can tell exactly what I was listening to. You can tell exactly what I was watching. You can tell exactly what I was reading. You can tell exactly how I was feeling. It was this weird little time capsule. And you can do that now, where it's like, oh, all these things that I used to love already are still here. They're still solidified in these little moments where my writing is remarkably, the same. So I'm in love with this as a topic, because I think it's important to mention that fan work's not a monolith.
Mm.
And they all started somewhere. And I think it's so easy now because I know I look at like some of the kids and what they're doing, and it's like, oh god damn, I could never be that good. But like we all started somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And like none of us were great. I would argue to say most of us still aren't great at it, but you know,
I
it's
mean,
doing what you
there
love.
are some people out there who are like, you're just like reading stuff and you're just like, this person is a genius, but
Mm-hmm.
most of us are not at that level.
Yeah, 100%. And you just sort of like accept it. And it's like, wow, this person is really, really, really talented.
Mm-hmm.
I will never get there, but I can appreciate that they're there. So here's the thing about writing tropes and writing conventions. A lot of it is down to genre. So genres in and of themselves will have a lot of tropes and conventions. And when I say that, like there is an expected way for things to go. In a superhero movie or in a comic book, you expect good to triumph over evil. You expect for there to be a maintenance of the status quo. You expect for there to be good, fair representation of certain characters while other characters are bad and evil.
Yes.
Which is why sometimes when series subvert those expectations, they can be so radical and interesting. So, series that did that for the superhero genre include like Invincible or The Boys, shows that white men watch to feel important.
Yeah. Sansa's having an asthma attack. I'm just like, if you can hear him coughing, he's fine, but he's
Same Sansa. I also have asthma attacks. But you can tell that why these series are popular is because they did something unexpected. They did something different. Um, Invincible is radically different than most of the animated superhero stuff that you would see. The Boys is radically different than most superhero stuff that you would see, unless you're like me, where you've been mainlining Frank Miller since you were, 12 years old.
sounds
Just,
healthy.
yeah, just snorting Frank Miller. Um, but falling into genre tropes and genre conventions isn't inherently negative. It's not. It's
No.
neutral. The problem, quote unquote problem is when you consume a lot of it together, it all does run the same.
It does.
And I've had that where like I've read like multiple fics in a night and it's like, wow, we all really did learn to write from the same place.
Yeah. And and I also think that now that I'm back into it,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's confusing a lot of the time because everyone follows, and especially if you're like reading in the same fandom,
Yes.
where like obviously people are going to be adhering to the same tropes or conventions, or like
Yes.
a certain thing is popular, and if you're reading several ongoing fics at the same time, I often
Mhm.
find that I get them confused because they're so similar, and it's not necessarily a bad thing because clearly I am looking up these for a specific reason because they are
Right.
writing something I want to read. But then I
Right.
get my wires crossed because I'm like, wait, didn't that happen? No, that was in that thing I was reading last week that isn't finished. And it's all very
Yeah, there's this really really interesting homogeneity that happens in fan spaces where certain head canons just get
oh yeah.
adopted and it's just canon and everyone runs with it. So like to bring it back down to like the BL yaoi space, we talked about this extensively with Matt and Mello, where we've given Matt a whole different hair color than what he has in canon.
Yeah, to the point where it's accepted as
Yeah,
canonical because
even though we're wrong, like the fans aren't correct here. Hitalia is full of that. Hitalia fandom is so full of rationalizing dumb things that Hitaka's made because Hitalia took their stuff way too seriously. We did, we did. And that homogeneity is great because it's something that we can all agree on. It gets a little bit stymied though when you are reading fic and everything sounds very, very similar.
mm,
It's also one of the reasons why it's so hard to have things like the Omegaverse lawsuit. Because how do you copyright genre fiction? How do you copyright what is a trope? You can't copyright knots and ruts and heats and slick. You can't copyright that.
No, I think the only thing I've heard about that Hanahaki disease,
I do know
because that
Hanahaki.
yeah, because Hanahaki, I learned a couple of years ago that is actually, if not copyrighted, the author of that one manga, which I cannot for the life of me remember the name of, uh, has actually been out there to say that don't use this. Like, you can use it for fanfic, just and like dojin, but people aren't allowed to like use it in original works because it did come from that one mangaka apparently, and it seems like everyone just
Yeah.
accepted that.
Right, absolutely. And it's so interesting because yeah, everyone uses Hanahaki, but yeah, like it does belong to like that one particular thing. And
Mm.
but it's at this stage, it feels like it's just embedded that you're gonna have a Hanahaki something.
Yeah,
Like
and because it's so prevalent in, say, fanfic or dojin,
right.
a lot of people, me included, up until a couple of years ago, didn't
Mhm.
know that this wasn't like a that this belonged to someone. I mean, obviously everything comes from somewhere, but this was an original concept that belonged to an original author apparently.
Mhm.
But then you just keep seeing it recycled in the fan fiction space, and you
Right.
just accept that, oh, that's a thing, and you copy it and you don't know the roots of it.
Right, and I think it's so interesting now, especially because we talked about representation in the last episode, and I noticed that with a lot of like trans head canons, that like there are characters now that like I have not seen them drawn as like cis men.
Mm.
Like I have never seen fan art of them being drawn as cis men. Like all of them are like every art that I see of them are they're trans men, and like that's great, but that's a head canon. That is
Mm.
not canon. And I'm not here to diminish that for anyone, but like that's weird. And like just like on a narrative level. But like, oh, okay, like we have divorced from canon so far that no one thinks that this character is cisgender. And that's really really curious but also kind of scary to me because it is very homogenous. It is very, like one person has the idea and everyone just runs with it.
Mm. And then, and again, like you're saying, it's not to diminish it, not that it's
Mhm.
necessarily a bad thing, but
Mhm.
of course, especially with the fandom climates being what they are today, that
Mhm.
can lead to a lot of situations when people aren't able to separate the fanons and the head canons
Mhm.
from canon, and then start attacking each other over the interpretation or portrayal of a specific character, like
Mhm.
the one that you're talking about, for instance.
Right, and, like, you can see that a lot with, like, Plant Cest right now with, Knives and Vash, where, like, yeah, I wrote Vash as trans because everyone's writing Vash as trans. It isn't necessarily that I have strong headcanons about Vash being trans. It's because I have not seen Vash with a dick since Stampede came out. And while I can understand why some people would believe that, you can draw trans headcanons about him, that's just something that like I'm admitting I borrowed that. I saw that. I did what writers do where I was, we're all like crabs. We're just
Yeah.
filtering what we know. And all I saw was Vash pussy. So it's like, okay, cool. We're gonna Vash pussy it up. Pew 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 pew. Because that's what everyone else was doing, and that looks really fun.
And then you
So
want to do it too.
I want to do it too. But that's not something that I strongly believe in or care about. If someone were to come at me and say, "Well, I can't believe you wrote him as trans. You're not trans," blah, 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 and like be actually angry with me, like, yeah, I'd fold. You're 100% right. I don't have like you're correct. I don't know why I did this. I did this because everyone else was doing it. And that's where this is so interesting, is that those roots go back very, very, very far. I would love to find the original Sin like fanfic. Like that's like my like research project if I ever like stop working and just like dedicate myself to be like a fandom scholar,
Oh my god.
is where is that original Sin fanfic that just put all of these things to text and we've just been copying it for 30 years.
It would be like, let me know if you find it.
Yeah,
I just imagine you with like a little lantern, like a little Tonberry in some dusty
yes,
ass library
yes.
somewhere, like looking
Yeah,
for
it's like an
the
Avatar: The
original.
Last Airbender. There's a giant owl, and I'm just in this like desert tower trying to find the original Homestuck fic that,
Oh my god.
codified kisses angry full of teeth.
Yes. That's from Homestuck?
No,
Okay.
but it would be.
I'm just checking because
It is not from Homestuck that I know of. But that's fascinating to me that we started all the way back and we have just been pushing this ball for decades now.
it's our Sisyphus project.
It really is. It really is. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we have seen over the years that drive us insane. And as we do that, we'll, absolutely, of course, have more tangible, concrete examples of that. But let's talk about some of the tropes that drive us absolutely crazy.
You know,
Because these are ones, yes.
I had to do some Google foo for this because
Yes.
I mean, clearly I lose all my bearings when we have to do something like this. I can't remember a thing I've ever read. But I've been so far removed from fic for so long. And
Mhm.
now that I only read mostly in one fandom, I had to be reminded of what's out there, what tropes exist. And I had to like Google to kind of find things to fill this list with.
Carola, I will not accept that you think weeping cock is a good thing.
Listen, I have I have fond memories. And I by far don't think it's the worst one. I've seen
You're,
worse. Can't
you're
remember any, but I
no.
personally I don't know,
Mm-mm,
I think it's a little hot. You're
mm-mm,
the one who have it. You're the one who have it on
mm-mm.
your
I
so
don't like
cringe they're amazing card.
it. So here are some tropes that and writing conventions that drive me absolutely insane. Number one is always going to be bad anatomy.
And no one knew you were gonna say that.
Shut your poor mouth.
My whore mouth that according to fanfic is not placed where it should be and, and nothing makes sense.
Listen, it drives me up the wall. It
I've
drives me up the
noticed.
goddamn
I've
wall.
noticed.
And there is nothing that can take me out of a fic faster than like just bad anatomy. And I'll broaden that a little bit to like just bad medicine in general because I watch a lot of medical dramas. I know too much about medicine and the human body. I'm not a doctor. But when things are wrong, like obviously, it completely takes me out of a fic. Like, I don't know how people have decided that they're going to describe how organs work, where they are, what injuries are supposed to be like, um, envisioning organs where there's no organs. Like, the magical trans prostate will always come to mind.
There it is.
He was gone for a while, but he came back. The magical trans prostate will always be in the back of my mind of like, did you just give a trans man a prostate?
I think, I'm a lot more lenient with this than you are. I don't know. I think that I'm somehow able to disconnect my brain for some of it. However, there is this one thing, and I don't think it's so prevalent in fic, at least not fics I've read, but in doujin and Murakami Maki, I love you and I love your doujins, but the whole my organs are changing places to accommodate his dick. No.
Yeah,
Listen, the
yeah.
body does not do
Yeah,
that.
the body does not do
Shindo.
that.
That is not a
The
thing.
body, that's not how that works.
Your
It
insides rearranging themselves.
is not positive.
No. If
Um,
that's happening, go to the hospital, like immediately.
right. And there's just, oh man, there's so many just like weird anatomical choices that people will make. And it's like, that's not how bodies work. That's
Which Which you know is why I enjoy that newly found tag that I found so much, the extreme medical hand waving. I'm like, well, at least you're aware of it. Like
yes, exactly. Where it's like, we're just not going to question what's going on. But Bad Anatomy gets me every single time.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
get
like,
that though.
because it's just enough to take you out of it. It's just enough to make you like think about, because like, again, so if you guys are new to this, which it always blows me away that this is someone's first episode.
Dear God. I mean, I don't think there's a single episode that's good to come into it on this show as your first episode. But some are worse than others.
But this was a fic that I read a while ago that was, of course, Dobby and Overhaul. Because shut up.
I'm sorry.
Shut up. And like, it is implied that Overhaul is trans, which again, I don't know why everything I read is trans headcanon stuff. I don't firmly believe in that shit. Every guy has a pussy. Sure. Knock yourselves out.
I've noticed that is a big thing recently though.
I will say nothing else about that topic because I have a lot of feelings. But I think that the author's intentionality was for it to be fingering Overhaul's pussy rather than his ass, but it's written as if he came from his ass. And they mention a sweet spot, but if you're a trans man, you do not have a sweet spot in your ass. That's your G spot, which is towards the front, which you can really only reach via the vagina. So unless we're using quirk magic to finger through the rectum.
That does not sound safe or healthy.
But it sounds like something Overhaul would do.
Okay, fair. I have heard, though, that you can have a G-spot orgasm through anal sex, I think.
You can. But do I think that writer was smart enough to make that inference? No.
I'm not going to comment on that because I don't know this person. I know nothing.
I will. This person 100% wants you to infer that there's now this magical floating prostate inside this trans man.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with you on this.
I wish you would.
Quite frankly, you get a little scary when you talk about this.
Because it's bad. It took me out of it completely. But Bad Anatomy kills every single time.
I mean, fair though.
What do you hate about tense changes? We're gonna fight about this one because I change tense constantly.
No, speaking of, things that take you out of it, like I've noticed, also I have to mention this briefly before I get into it, because when you said things that completely take you out of it, here's one that I just immediately thought of. And I realize typos happen, and I know that a lot of people use voice to text, but when you don't proofread, you don't notice things. And when the wrong name suddenly appears in a sex scene, and it suddenly writes this. Okay, this is going to be a Kinporsche thing because that is all I read. But I can imagine that if you're doing the whole voice to text and you're talking about Kin, but your phone corrects it to Ken, who is a completely different character in the series, and I don't want Porsche anywhere near him, and it really does take me out of it. No, thank you. I just remembered a traumatic moment I had recently. No, the tense changes. I don't know. I've learned that you stick to a tense, right? Like you write, like you either write, I prefer to write, oh my God, I immediately forget what everything is called. I write in third person always, and in like the past tense. So like he had, he watched, he's, always. I know that a lot of people prefer first person and present. I don't prefer writing like that. But I stick to the same tense the whole time unless I'm like, like you're flashing back or you have like there's a reason for you to change it. But in so many fics that I am reading recently, people are constantly changing the tenses. So they'll be like writing in past tense and then suddenly it's in present tense and then they're in the same scene and they're constantly switching between them. And I I can't. Like, I'm still reading it,
Yeah,
and the writing can still, like, the fic can still be good, but I just don't understand why so many people are switching tenses in the same scenes constantly.
I don't have an answer for that because I'm a shitty writer.
No, you're not. You are not. You're not.
Try so hard. But yeah, like actually that leads really neatly into mine is just like yeah, like grammar sometimes. And
Mm.
I'm a lot less of a strict grammar judge because here's one of my favorite things that existing on the internet is a bunch of non-English speakers that will be like, "Oh my god, like English isn't my first language. I'm sorry if this fic is rough." And it's written like a Shakespearean sonnet, like it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
And then
I
like then you'll have like native English speakers. Whose tits are these?
and the friggin' oh my god, what was that one thing? I remember so vividly being, a foreign teenager on the
Mm-hmm.
internet trying my hardest, even though like English is more like my native language, but
Mm-hmm.
I just so many native English speakers who didn't know how to spell definitely. Do you remember that? Like everyone was writing
I
like
still defiantly.
defiantly
I still
or
struggle.
definitely, like with the A. I was like, that's not how you spell that word. But I know
I mean,
exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, I'm bad at that shit.
But I
Like,
think I think that a lot of us speaking as a foreigner, as a person who strictly speaking do not have English as my native language, that we
mhm,
are so afraid of being judged and like being perceived as bad at writing that we get we,
mhm.
we get really really caught up in trying to write as perfectly as possible. But then if you've ever seen a Norwegian try to write in Norwegian, I cry every day when I read the newspaper because the journalists don't know what they're doing anymore. Like grammar is dead in this country. I
But
am
yeah, like
sad.
I tend not to be a super strict grammar judge because like I write a lot like in I write a lot of passive voice.
Mm,
I will change tenses, but like also that's usually because I'm writing from either like first limited. I'm usually writing either first limited or third limited.
mm,
I like limited POV. I don't like omniscient. Omniscient feels a little bit too top down voyeuristic, and I like giving
mm.
my readers at least someone they can slot into.
Yeah,
So
I'll do it if there's if there is like a narrator. Like my first novel
mhm,
is written retrospectively, and it's like a character who's essentially telling the story, and there's no way he knows all of this, but he's like the
mhm,
medium. So like the narration is sort of omniscient, but normally
mhm.
I also keep it in third person limited.
Listen to us having actual writer talk for 5 minutes.
Yeah, like, oh
Um,
my god, what is this? Where was this during the actual writer episode?
but yeah, like I mean, sometimes bad grammar just takes me completely out of
Yeah,
it. Where it's just like,
none of us are gonna be like rage clicking out of a
no.
fic because someone made a mistake or like. And I am willing to. I am someone who's really like I care about grammar. Okay, clearly,
Mhm,
I ever since I was a kid, I write text messages with perfect grammar and punctuation because that is who I am as a
mhm,
person. But I'm not going to judge people, because everyone starts somewhere and everyone is, we're learning as we go and we're improving as we go. So, but if it's really like, if there are a lot of grammatical errors and it's hard to follow, then absolutely,
mhm.
that really does take you out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because, again, you can also see some of the roots of that being that many of us learned fic from non native English speakers. That a lot of those fandom elders were non native speakers, which is, I remember seeing that really, really early on and like not always understanding why it was listed, but like, English isn't my first language, please be gentle or like, please be kind.
Mm,
Because I when we were younger, I don't think we understood what global meant when it meant to the internet.
no.
Like I think that even though it said like, oh, this person's from a different country, like we didn't have the brain to understand what that meant.
Maybe not. I mean, no, I'm not going to start attacking, but maybe
Well,
not if you
okay.
were in the US.
Yeah, as a dumb American, I didn't really like
Because
I
I
didn't really
was the
grasp.
person. I was the
Yeah.
anomaly. But what I do remember, and this is so funny to me now, I remember being like 15 and being so floored by how many Spanish speaking people there were on the internet who only communicated in Spanish. And, you
Yes.
know, and there would be like whole comment sections and threads and fics. And I would be like, what the hell is
What do you
happening?
say?
Because
Yeah.
all of the rest of us had to communicate in English, which is now how I feel like Americans are doing today. Like, why are there other languages? You know,
Right, 100%.
I
But
just remember that being very, yeah,
but yeah, like it's amazing to me to think about that. Another big thing that I will say, and this is like genre trope for everything, I cannot stand it when people use flowery language to describe skin tone. If you are describing people of color with flowery language, please know I hate you personally.
I think. I mean, I've heard so many video essays and things about this. I absolutely
Yes.
agree with you. Will you care to elaborate what you mean by that? If there are any listeners who don't understand what you mean, you have my permission. Go off.
So this is something that you see when typically, especially white writers, are writing people of color. And I say people of color because it really does include everyone in that instance, but it usually refers to those with brown or black
Yeah.
skin, like mine. And typically, what'll happen is, when I describe a white character, I'm usually only using like two different kinds of modifiers for it. So, like, slightly tanned, as in, like, they're out in the sun,
I,
sunburnt, as in, like, they're pale, or paled, as in they don't go out. So, but I don't use like
hello.
Corolla, the three stages of Corolla. Oh,
No, I've never been tan in my entire life. That's
but like,
never happened.
I'm never describing their skin as like aged parchment or cream alabaster.
Oh, I've used alabaster. I will admit that. Oh
I've
my
used
god.
alabaster and porcelain, but like it was also in reference to like court makeup.
Yeah, no, I've used it for characters who I'm pretty sure, because they were supposed to be Japanese,
Yeah.
do not have porcelain skin. Although
But
sometimes I'll use porcelain, because I think when I was younger, sorry
mhm.
for just
No, you're good.
hijacking. I think that at least when I was younger, I sometimes would interpret porcelain as meaning like flawless skin, like no, like
Yes.
very, very smooth.
Yes. But typically you'll see this with a romance series where, you'll have like the one black female character and like, oh, her rich ebony mocha skin. And every time that happens, a little piece of me dies.
The word Nubian queen comes to mind, and that to me is like horny white man fetishizing random
Me on
black
every
woman.
dating app.
It's
Every dating app's like, oh, you
like
can be my,
you think that's a compliment, don't
yeah,
you?
it's not.
Don't
Um,
do that.
I did have one guy on a dating app asked for me to be his chocolate goddess, which, no, don't refer. There's a book called The Delectable Negro, and it's about like homoeroticism and like slave bodies.
Mm,
And that's one of the big reasons why black people are described with food terms, is that it's an inherent homoeroticism and eroticism to the dehumanization of black people. So we can only be seen by white masses as beautiful and seductive when compared to something animalistic or food.
mm.
It is never our sexuality or our sensuality based on humanity, but in it being something that is something that you can consume or something that you can overpower.
Yeah.
And that's bad. That's bad. End of sentence. Like, that's not
Yep.
just like
Yep.
lazy writing. It's bad. Um, I went to the Museum of African American History in Washington, D.C. It was rough.
I can
It was
imagine.
really, really rough. And like you can see that in every part of society that the dehumanization of people of color and the commodification of people of color comes down to stripping them away of their humanness.
Yeah.
So when you as writer go out of your way to describe a black character or a brown character using like flowery language and especially food terms, you are contributing to a form of very, very insidious racism. And it's something that I've only grown less tolerant of the older I get.
Yeah.
Because when I was a kid, it was annoying. Because at least like when I was younger, it was black writers writing that about black people. So like my aunts would read like Zane novels, and Zane was like the girl who wrote 50 Shades of Grey, but for black women.
Ah.
So my aunts would read Zane novels, but Zane was written by a black person for black people. So when Zane would say like, "Oh, my mocha queen, my Nubian goddess," like that was from the perspective of a black person talking about black people. It was still cringe, but it was different.
Yeah.
But then that really, really permeated out. And yeah, now anytime a white guy on Bumble is like, "Oh, my Nubian goddess," like,
Instant block.
right. Or yeah, like our favorite that we mentioned where it's like, "Oh, skin like fresh pressed olive oil, green."
Yeah.
Green. You mean green.
And it's not even like it's like Shrek green. It's like toxic green.
Excuse, like it's green. It's green. It's green.
That's not a good color.
Alien? Like, so
like
that's
not judging any alien fuckers out there, but unless that's what you mean,
right? And it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary and it's lazy because like we wouldn't describe white characters like that. We would like, "Oh, the skin like whipped meringue." It's weird. We wouldn't do that to a white character.
But I think it's so like obviously it's a very important thing to talk about because as we talked about in the introduction extensively, we copy what we see. And I think for a lot of people, they don't necessarily mean any harm. Like, I'm not excusing anyone, clearly, but I think that a lot of people don't understand why this is bad, which is why it's so important that we have those conversations because there's so much more to it.
Right.
And, similarly, the description of, and especially Asian women, when the word exotic is brought up, no, don't do it.
That. Don't do that. And it's funny because it feels like a lot of things that started off in group and became out group, and as soon as it became out group, it was bad. So like when Zane was doing it in Zane novels, it was cringe back then. But like at least that was a brown person talking about brown people, and like that kind of black person exists. We usually call them like hoteps, or like the ones that are like super like pan-Africanist, even though they've never been to Africa before in their lives. But like that's a different kind of guy. Like at least in group, that's something I can work with. Out group, if you're a random white man that I've never met and you are trying to ingratiate yourself to me by calling me a mocha queen, unless that's what you're giving me from Starbucks, I'm not interested.
Unless you own a chocolate factory,
right?
Like that could be your title if you were like the Willy Wonka of the real world or whatever. But
right. Also, I think the thing that bothers me the most about it is that they're usually incongruent. So like they'll list like, "Oh, my mocha ebony, onyx, queen." Those are 3 different types of black.
Yeah, those are not the same colors.
Yeah, my caramel mocha, burnt sienna. Those are all 3 different shades. I'm not any of those. Like, no.
Just I would say petition to teach white men color theory, but actually I just want them to shut up and get off the internet.
Well, and it's funny because like it's in everything. Like honestly, like go buy The Delectable Negro. It's a great book. Because it talks about, so like one of the places I noticed it the most is makeup, where all of the warm and brown shades are like nutmeg and honey and oh, it's chocolate, it's chai tea, it's tea. But all of the white shades are like power, seduction, Success.
Personally, I also think that light shades should not be called power, because that's
Yeah.
the connotation right there.
Yeah, there's a connotation there. Exactly. But like
Which is
all of
probably there for a reason. Let's be honest.
like when I look at like even my makeup, like I think my Clinique makeup is like warmed honey. But like one of my friends' shades is just like fair. So wait, why is mine warmed honey and yours fair? Like
Mhm.
so it's
You
a problem everywhere and I don't like it when anyone does it.
No. And, I think that's some of it. And again, still not an excuse, because
Mhm.
we live in the digital age. It's really easy to educate yourself.
It
History is
is.
a thing that you can study. I think that in a lot of cases, people are so misguided because, like, it's you because words that we think are perceived in a negative way, and then
Mhm.
as people, we are trying to not say those things. It's like kind of like, if someone says that they're fat and then their friend replies, "No, you're not, you're beautiful." They didn't
Mhm.
say they were ugly. That's not necessarily a bad word, but people will use flowery language to avoid using it. And I think that a lot of
Mhm.
white people are afraid of just frankly saying that someone is black, because they think that
Right.
that sounds racist. Let me invent this really flowery language that really makes them objectified and commodified and dehumanized, because that sounds
Right.
better. No, it doesn't.
Right. Right. And it sounds more like a compliment. I was with one of my friends, her name is Amber. She's African American as well. And she was wearing this purple top. And this lady, a white lady, is like, "Oh, purple looks so good on your skin."
Why couldn't she just why can't you
R-
just give a normal compliment?
Right. Like and just by adding in that last part, you've ruined it. Because you can just say, "Purple looks great on you." In a sentence. Done. We're
Yeah.
done. But like, "It looks so good." It was either on your skin or on you people. I don't, it was
Oh
one version that was,
god.
I think she wanted to say, I want to say she said on you people, which made it worse. Again, like it's a totally innocent comment, but like you know you killed it. You ruined it. You ruined it right at the
Yeah.
end. But flowery language when it comes to descriptions of skin, I don't like it anywhere. I especially don't like it as, a person that does have some melanin. I'm getting that ick again with the whole like everyone's really, really convinced that Nicholas D. Wolfwood is Hispanic. So people are talking about him and his melanin in ways when really he's a white man in the sun.
I mean, they are in the desert.
Yeah, he's not Hispanic, guys. I'm sorry. Like I get that you guys saw Catholic and a whore and said Hispanic. He's not. I get it. I get it, but guys, he's not. Please stop yelling at people over a fictional man. Uh
I'm so glad I'm not that deep in this fandom yet. I'm already tired.
Now, okay, I want to talk um about crossovers.
What are you skipping? I have one before the crossovers.
Do you want I saw that. I'm not skipping it, but I want to
Okay,
talk about it.
okay.
But you
Yeah.
can go over the other one first.
Okay, no, it's just because we kind of touched upon it, right? I have in
Yes.
my notes. This thing is trendy, so I'll apply it to every fic I write, even when it
Yes.
doesn't fit the characters, because it's what
Yes.
everyone is doing. And again,
Yes.
not necessarily a bad thing, because
No.
tropes. I mean, we love the only one bed trope. We love the, whatever. But sometimes, and again, because I'm in Kid Porsche hell, this is the only thing I'm reading. I am
Mhm.
noticing that there are a lot of because Kid Porsche is a mafia thing, so it obviously is going to
Mhm.
have some dark, some dark connotations. There are going to be some dark thematics, and um canon typical violence, etc. There's
Mhm.
a very kinky BDSM couple in but every single couple isn't like that. And again, like, you are absolutely welcome to explore characters as you wish and
Mhm.
everything. But I've just noticed that, especially in this fandom, like, and other things I've read as well, because I feel like it's incredibly trendy right now that everyone has a praise kink. Like,
Yes.
everyone, I think the authors all have praise kinks because they give it to all the characters. And not only do all, this is just one of the examples that I've noticed, like the
Mhm.
praise kink. And And not only do they all have the praise kink, but all the characters say the exact same lines during sex. And they're all like, oh, you're taking it so good for me. Like, you're such a cock slut. All of those things, And sometimes it works. And then you have pairings where I'm like, not to be a pearl clutching old woman, but I feel like this character would never say that. And
Yeah,
and it's not, I just think it's so fascinating because everyone's
yeah.
doing it now.
And I'm so in love with this. Is a sidebar. This is going to be a long episode. I told you guys to go get a snack.
I mean, the free intro was 30 minutes.
I told you guys to go
I'm
get a snack.
having a great time.
But it also being, you can tell that it's usually like regurgitated, like it's like a word, it's like it's a copy pasta.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing that anyone finds sexy in real life. Like,
not necessarily, no.
I'm gonna be honest. If I fucked a guy that fucks the way that my characters write, I would leave. I would not be satisfied. I would be very unhappy and very uncomfortable. Oh,
I mean, same.
But
same.
That's all rooted in, I started this when I was like 12, before I knew what my sex and sexuality really was. And now I know, hey, I don't like that in real life. Also, it's not real, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like throwing in things that, feel appropriate. I guess like sidebar to that, really, really, really making a character do something just because you feel like it. I love it sometimes, but sometimes we go too far, fandom. Sometimes,
yeah, I mean, I agree. And it's like, again, like I'm not judging anyone and I'm like not throwing anyone under the bus. I am. Having recently rediscovered fanfic, I think it's so interesting to see how, again, everyone is still like copying each other, but it's they're copying that has changed for me. And I think that a lot of the time, like, I just think more than, it's not necessarily that it drives me crazy. I just think it's incredibly fascinating. And like, you just keep seeing the same things. And sometimes I'm like, I think that especially because for the younger fans, and the younger writers, I think that they think that this is how you write fanfic, that this is the convention that you need to follow. So these are the lines and these are the actions and these are the things you need to have in a scene for it to be sexy. But it doesn't have to be like that. Of course, you can do it, but you don't have to. You're allowed to diverge from that and explore the characters in your own way.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the best things about writing fic still, is seeing, for as much as changed, how much has stayed the same. We're jumping the gun.
Yes.
Listen, I hate it anytime someone is writing a blowjob and it says, oh, he fed him his dick, because I hate that. I hate that so much. Do not ever. I will walk into your home and slap the shit out of you. If you ever say fed him his dick inch by inch, I am kicking in your bedroom window.
Amanda's back kicking your house down, everyone.
I hate it so much, because, so here's the thing. I have severe ADHD. So my brain takes everything at face value. So if you write the sentence, fed him his dick, I am imagining like a Bugs Bunny cartoon with just a dick on a plate and a fork and a knife.
I can see how that would be distracting.
I don't like that. I don't know why we thought that was sexy.
It's not my favorite term either, I'll say. I can allow it. I can tolerate it, but
no. No. That also leads into the bad anatomy part, that it's like, oh, like throat bulges and stuff like that. Cool, you've killed your uke.
Yeah, dead. like sometimes I'm reading a blowjob and I'm like,
he's dead.
This does not. I mean, I'm sure that the guy receiving it is having a great time. The other guy is
dead
or on the verge of dying. Like, this does not sound healthy, people.
Right.
And sometimes I find myself Googling, because apparently, I mean, going back to what I said about everyone doing the same thing, apparently we've collectively as fandom writers now decided that there are certain techniques that you can use to suppress your gag reflex. And sometimes
Yes.
I have to go on Google and try to see if this is a thing that people have actually researched, or it was like one person wrote it because they were just like, I'm not going to deal with this. And then
Yeah.
everyone copied it. And I'm like, what is this? Is this a
Oh my
thing?
god. Do you remember when every fic mentioned flattening your tongue?
Yes. Yes. And I mean, they still do that sometimes.
It's flatten your tongue and hollow out your cheeks. Fun fact, do not blow a man like that. End of sentence.
I point out that like by like anatomically speaking, your tongue is already flat. But
I went to dim sum with a friend like years ago, and there was this like egg souffle custard thing. It was like
why
a
are
steamed
all of
egg,
your stories centered around dim sum?
because I love dim sum. And no, this was Korean too, actually, so close enough. But it's a weird texture thing. My friend didn't like it. And I was like, yeah, you just like flatten your tongue and just knock it back. And he's like, is that what women have to do?
The
He was
things
like,
the things
like, I
we
have
go through.
for you now. It's like,
Wow, that's what it took.
flatten your tongue, knock it back, and you just deal with it. But
Oh
like,
god.
you remember we were all writing blowjobs the exact same way, and we'd always focus on like tears falling out of eyes, and like that's a sign of hypoxia.
You know, I never want to see the phrase bobbing up and down ever again in my life. Because I remember before, because when I was tentatively beginning, I actually have this in my final point. I'm touching upon that a little bit prematurely,
Mhm.
but when I first started dipping my toes into writing smut, I was a little too hesitant to actually be full on gratuitous, explicit the way I am now. So I would like, but there's nothing sexy about literally just writing, and then he took him into his mouth and bobbed his head up and down for a bit. It's like, that's not hot, people.
Yeah, it's
But
not
and like
hot.
15-year-old me didn't think it was hot either, but I wasn't about to write, what the others were writing. It
Or
didn't
when
take
we
that
didn't
long.
know how to write sex, and just every like third sentence, you would just say that they thrust it in harder and faster.
Oh
Do you
yeah.
remember when we didn't have any other way to describe sex
No,
outside of harder, faster, harder, faster, harder, faster?
it's so funny because when I was looking up these tropes, I came across this list, and I don't know if this is like an official list of ways that things are described, but there was a list, and one of the points on this list was I think it was referred to as like IKEA manual, the IKEA manual, or the IKEA sex, and that is because it's like literally thing A goes into slot B,
Yeah,
and that's literally how we would
yeah.
write some things.
It's amazing because so like it's fascinating to me because we can have Carl and I live in different parts of the globe,
Yeah,
and we have
clearly.
experienced the same things.
And we've written, like, arguably speaking, we've written the same fic just with different characters.
Corolla and I are products of this system.
Victims. We're victims.
Because it's amazing, because like I can see it in Corolla's work. I can see her roots in like Change of Heart.
Which arguably does not have any porn in it.
I know, it's a little disappointing, but
That's what the upcoming Patreon is for. If I ever launch it. Help
But
me.
yeah, it's like it's amazing because it's almost like when you open up a car and you like see all the history. You open up our fic, you can see everything we've learned.
Dear God.
And it's crazy because for as much as we've talked about improving,
we haven't. I mean,
we have.
I was listening to this video recently because after I got back into fanfic, and I noticed all of these, because clearly I didn't, I mean, my frontal lobe wasn't developed yet, so I mean, I didn't think about these things critically, but now, with a whole ass literature study degree almost behind me and everything, I think about things differently, and I started like looking into like these things that I've noticed now that I got it back into fanfic, and I was listening to this video about someone talking about like ways that I can't remember what the video was called. If it was like ways that fanfic destroys your writing or ways that
Mhm.
you can tell that an author came from fanfic. And
Mhm.
for some of them, I felt so personally attacked. Because I'm like, because we learn, it's like, I think I talked about this in an earlier episode. It might have been on Patreon, but I mentioned how we will leave subjects or objects out of the sentence. So instead of writing, the other man or the younger
Mhm.
man, we would just write the other or the younger. And my editor had to beat that habit out of me. And I notice it so hard now when I read other people's fics because people are still
Yes.
doing it.
See, and I'm the opposite. That I got so tired of just people using just pronouns like he, him, and like
Yeah.
doing like back and forth, especially like in a boys' love scene.
Yeah.
I
And
out of my way to highlight which character is doing what because
yeah.
I would get so lost in like who is doing what to whom. And
Absolutely. Which is, and I still do that. Because same way, especially when you're writing BL, he, him, it gets repetitive and tedious and confusing. I will
right,
specify with, whatever, but using the hair color, using their age, just to sort of
right. And I think it's so amazing because like, oh my god, there is one instance of this that I always think is amazing, and it kind of ties back into like bad anatomy and bad writing, is when you lose track of limbs.
oh my god.
Where it's like, oh, like one hand is buried in his hair and the other hand is like doing something else. And it's like, oh, and his spare hand did this. His spare hand.
No, it's okay. All of my boys
He
actually have they all have 4 hands, don't worry.
Right, they all have 4 fucking arms and hands.
I just
like,
didn't tell you about it. They
right,
all
everyone,
have. There's an extra set that comes out during sex.
right, like Goro. Like, this is like, it's like, oh, and his spare hand got busy. Spare hand?
It's like, it's like in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with Saphon just has an extra arm that looks like a scarf, and then it turns out it's his 3rd arm.
Right, it's
That
like, that drives me insane. Where it's like, I was like, oh, his extra limb. Extra limb? What?
I know. But apart from that, what I do want to say, since we touched upon this, that especially when it comes to varying language, like I will take this to my grave. I know that a lot of serious writers, which I should also be apparently, are disagree with me on this, but I think that sometimes fanfic writers do it better because I don't necessarily think that it's bad to differentiate between the characters in this way,
Mhm.
or using other ways of saying said. Like, I know that you don't have to that you shouldn't always exchange said for another term, like, but I also think that it gets very.
Okay, but also when it's inauthentic and it's like the character pontificated, eat my
Okay,
ass.
yeah, no, not like that. I
Eat my whole
personally,
ass.
I
Don't.
think we should go back to the Gothic novel and classic literature and just start using he ejaculated a lot more often, because that is a way of expressing
It
that
is.
you are saying
It is.
something, and I
It is. It is.
enjoy
It is.
it.
Um. Oh, here's one. Searing hot cum.
Yes, that. Listen, no, that does not sound good.
Anytime I hear burning or searing hot, it's body temperature. It's
I
actually a little bit cooler than body temperature.
I it's like, if you're burning yourself on your own or your partner's cum,
Right.
that's not a good thing.
Like, oh my god, like his his scalding ejaculate. Scalding. Like a tea kettle.
What is
Like a
wrong
tea.
with this man?
Right. That's a disease. That's a condition. He needs to be tested.
The Yaoi disease. It starts with the hands, and then the next
Yeah,
thing
it starts
you
with the
know.
hands, and then your semen is over 100
Oh
degrees.
God.
Right, like
Oh my God.
that's awful. And it's so funny because it's something that I promise you we picked up somewhere.
Molten
like,
globes. Or molten globs. Is all I'm saying. Amanda's having a war flashback.
painted his lover white.
Yes. Oh my god. We had some good times in the olden days. They weren't necessarily well written, but you know what? I have a fondness for
Painted his
painting.
lover. Painted his face. Just paint. Don't
Pain.
ever. Ugh. Ugh. What were we doing? What were we doing back
That's the thing
then?
we didn't
What
know.
were we doing?
I think, and the thing is, even when we were sexually active, I had a boyfriend.
Yes.
Even then, you stuck to how you learned to write. Like, it didn't matter if you knew that physically that's not what it looked like or whatever.
Right.
You were like, no, but this is how we write it.
Like, it doesn't matter how much I know about sex now. I still write the exact same way.
And then I will vehemently defend myself, screaming at the top of my lungs, it's a fantasy.
Right.
I'm here to educate you. I mean, sometimes I do write realistic sex, and I have gotten a lot better. I'm trying not to undermine myself as a writer here, and please buy my books. I'm not a terrible writer, I promise.
What the fuck was that?
I just realized that I was throwing
all
myself
those
under the bus.
came back to Carola in like 5 minutes and was like, oh no.
I'm like, wait, what am I doing?
I just saved my career immediately.
Please understand that I need something to fall back on when people find these videos and they realize that I'm also a con organizer and I get canceled. So
They can't cancel you. You're too important.
thank you.
But it's amazing that like we picked this stuff up years ago and you can still see the vestiges in our work. Let's run through the last couple that you have listed so we can talk about the tropes that have jumped the shark so far.
What?
Also, I agree with you. Do not put trigger warnings at the end.
Yeah, like what is that?
Who is that for?
No, I'm like, because this is a thing I've seen recently, and I feel like this is an AO3 thing because of the way that the site is formatted.
Yes.
Because in the olden sites, the author's note box was on the top, and then you had to put like little asterisks and then author's notes at the bottom. But now I keep seeing people who have like, there is a note section at the top of your fic in AO3 where you can write, trigger warnings or whatever, and then you're like, trigger warnings at the bottom. I'm like, why are you putting them after the thing has occurred? What's the point?
So here's something that I learned that I'm really, really bad at, and I've mentioned this before, is like tagging my own work. So like I just did one that was a Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, and I realized that like I definitely did not tag everything that happens in this fic because I don't know how to tag it. It just happened.
I mean that is also a part of our heritage. The whole, I suck at tagging. I don't know how to summary.
Yeah.
Like,
None of us know what we're doing.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
None of us have a single clue.
No.
But I think it's important, yeah, that like now as we do get into this like era where tags and tagging is so much more important, that like I do try to very, very openly, at least like the things that I think are necessary to tag, I try to be very, very upfront with those. My favorite about AO3 though is by saying like the creator has decided not to use any tags, which basically just means fuck you.
I don't think I've encountered anything like that yet, but I have encountered the whole the author chose not to use archive tags, but then there's a bunch of tags, so I guess that's
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I guess that means you make your own tags. I've never published on the site. I've only
so it's also mostly I think that's like their button for old people like me where we're not used to having to think about that stuff. Because like having to write the tags for like my Eri Kitazawa fic was weird because it's like, oh yeah, this is like dubcon and age gap and problematic, and I was just like, but I just wanted boy slut Eri.
Yeah, and like back in the
And
day, that was just a regular walk
no, it
in
was
the
just
park. Like,
right. Like all we had were dead doves back in the day. No dove ever lived.
no,
Also,
we exterminated the doves back in the day.
yeah.
I
Oof,
say as if I wrote anything. I didn't, but I don't even think
I
I knew what the term meant.
I don't
Which,
think yes.
which I think actually makes sense considering where I was in the world because we would
Mhm.
get shows later. So
Yes.
the whole dead dove, the whole it wasn't. We hadn't seen it. There was no grounds for the reference for us. We didn't know what it
Correct.
was.
Um, let's go over some fanfic writing tropes and conventions that are so cringe that they've become amazing again.
I don't believe in cringe.
I saw that. Also, today in Amanda has severe ADHD. So Tony J, the voice actor that did Judge Claude Frollo in The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yes, but also no. But yes.
Okay, you know Minister Frollo from Hunchback of Notre
Yeah,
Dame.
I just didn't know the name of the voice
Yeah.
actor.
Okay. So he is an amazing actor and voice actor who's done 1,000,005 things. I got to his page via Don Bluth research earlier, and I knew that he was Shere Khan in the second Jungle Book. I knew that. And I knew that he was the villain in the Miss Spider Sunny Patch Kids show because he's terrifying. And then it's Minister Frollo and it's the worst. I did not know that he was the narrator on a bunch of different documentaries, and now that I know, it's very weird.
Judge Frollo, uh,
So,
narrating
like,
a
one of my
nature doc.
favorite documentaries is on here. It's H. Holmes, America's First Serial Killer,
Okay,
and
but
he was
see,
the narrator for that.
but I can live with that. Like if he's
No, it's
doing
good.
yeah, like if he's doing narration for if Judge Frollo is doing narration for serial killer documentaries, I
Yeah.
can live with that. If it was like nature documentaries, that would be weird.
Okay, I would actually watch the fuck out of that.
Of course you imagine when they have a little, and then the female mantis eats.
Yeah, I would watch the fuck out of that. I would absolutely watch the shit out of that. But he also did the voice for there's a History Channel documentary that was Nostradamus 500 years later. Because remember when History Channel didn't do history? When History
Ye-
Channel just stopped?
I didn't even have the History Channel.
Yeah, so for those of us in the US, the History Channel is no longer about history. And they have this Nostradamus special. And Tony J is like the voice of Nostradamus, which who else do you get to voice Nostradamus?
What is happening on the History Channel?
uh Pawn Stars and Ancient Aliens.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Uh but let's go over some of the ones that jump the shark that they are so cringe that they're good. And god damn it if I don't use hair color as a signifier.
Yep, I do
Ebony
that.
haired, raven haired, dark
Raven haired.
red hair. Now the only thing I don't like is when it's like non-natural colors
Yeah,
and
that's
people
weird.
will try to describe it. So like you'll see that a lot.
The greenette.
Gr- Greenette makes me want to do crime. Greenette,
What am I then? How do you describe pinkette?
pink haired.
Yeah, like pink haired sounds like a normal in my head, in my fan fiction atrophied brain,
Right.
that sounds normal.
Or like if I was writing, I would like go out of my like hair dyed pink because like that's part like it's a statement. Like clearly it's a statement. I don't know what the statement is, but it's a statement.
This
But
hair
like
is a statement.
right. But like greenette.
Greenette.
Greenette makes me want to die.
I'm sure that this has been done with other colors as well, but it's the greenette that
Greenette is the worst because of a very certain character and it makes me want to jump off a bridge. Every time I see it, it makes me want to jump off a fucking bridge.
No, don't.
Or no one knows what blonde is anymore. That's my favorite.
Yeah. And to this day, I think
Yes.
one of the things I am most confused about in the English language,
Yes.
thanks to fan fiction, is how to spell blonde.
Oh,
Because
with the E or without the E?
Because somehow fan fiction taught me that if it was a man, it was without the E, and if it's a woman, it is with the E. But then people started arguing about it, and I got confused. And now every time I write a blonde character, I'm terrified.
I always use with an E.
I also use with an E because it looks grammatically correct to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man,
we're damaged.
Okay, so yeah, apparently blonde with no E is for masculine, and with an E is for feminine.
But
I don't make the rules, Carola.
I just feel like literally no one follows that, and in that case,
no one follows it.
Writers in the early 2000s were better at following that rule than anyone else, apparently.
Also, while we're here, this is how we get into trouble. Synonyms include fair, sandy, flaxen, straw, golden, and tawny. If you refer to a character's hair as flaxen,
what the fuck is that?
Of flax. Like flax seeds.
No.
No, so it's like a My Little Pony OC. What are you talking about?
And I can assure you that there is one.
If you ever want a trip, Google your first name and Sonic the Hedgehog, and someone has made an OC with your name. And it is the funniest, saddest thing you'll ever see. But I can't make any promises that you won't find Sonichu. And unfortunately, if you find Sonichu, then you are no longer getting into heaven.
Public service announcement from Amanda.
out of all the sins I've committed, out of all the years devoted to Shota Cat, I think it's Sonichu that will finally seal me from ever seeing God's love and light.
Could be.
I hate the internet sometimes. Oh my god. So raven haired, dark haired. You cerulean orbs, really?
Yeah, no, okay. I can explain.
Please.
I sometimes still, very rarely, but sometimes I still refer to people's eyes as orbs with, whatever color they are, because I am damaged by the world I grew up in. But I just realized that I have a particular affinity for the term cerulean orbs because that is Naruto. Those are Naruto's eyes.
Azure, cerulean, turquoise,
emerald.
I'm
actually damaged forever because as we've talked about, because I started my fanfic ventures in rocket ship, in het shipping, and I was 11 or 12, and everyone was describing Jesse and James with, her sapphire eyes and his emerald eyes, and her earrings were the same color as his eyes, and it was this whole poetic thing. And ever since that, I've been sort of like damaged, I think. Ugh. It was very romantic. I was 11. Leave me alone.
Listen. Okay. We have both agreed that weeping cock is like so bad that it's good.
Yes. I will defend that term till the day I die. Whenever someone brings it up and they're like, oh my God, do you remember? I'm like, listen. Classic. It's a classic. And I think it's a little hot because I imagine that because now they're all writing, the bead, like it's beading at the tip. That is just a second coming, pun intended, of weeping cock. It's the same thing. And the visual in my head is very satisfying.
I'm gonna die.
Were you just about to say you were gonna kill me?
No, I thought I was going to kill myself.
I think I justified that pretty well. I think that was a very well-structured argument.
Also see leaking as opposed, or drooling or dripping.
Oh God, the drooling.
Drooling. See, so mine was drooling erection.
See, I will accept drooling
Please.
if you are getting your prostate milked, because that is what it does. Amanda is about to physically leave this show.
Do you ever think sometimes that this show is on the internet forever?
Thinking about it earlier, I'm like, I am saying these things on
Do you,
the fucking
do you
internet.
ever think about how
I'm
this is on
glad.
the internet forever?
I'm so glad no one in my family, at least from the parental grandparent generation, understand English. Even if they
Oh my
find
god.
this, they will not understand the jargon
Oh.
or what I'm saying. If any of my younger cousins are listening, I'm sorry. You're on your own.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Uh
Oh my god.
Tight ring of muscle.
Yeah, that is one.
Because we're never using the word sphincter.
No, but that's not exactly, it's not a very hot word. I don't think tight ring of muscle sounds particularly sexual either, but better than sphincter. But
I
then,
wonder if we
and the fact, do you understand that we are just sitting here completely straight faced saying these things? Like, this is what I mean when I'm like, I am beyond, like, I've ascended. I am at a level. I have no shame.
Fun fact, not pictured is my packer that is very, very close off camera. Like my realistic packer.
Why don't you just show it off? We're already.
I mean, I can,
You don't have to. It's fine.
but I needed it for reference. So it was sitting on my laptop for reference. And so I had to hide it because I had maintenance coming over, and normally it sits on my Yaoi shelf. So I had maintenance over, and I'm like, I can't just have like an anatomical pierced dick sitting on my bookshelf. So I
It's
hid it,
art. It's
and
art.
wherever I hid it, um, something must have happened. And when I went to go check it for like anatomical reasons, I just exclaimed in my apartment, "There's glitter on my dick!" But I cleaned it.
which
Uh,
which reminds me, completely unrelated, but it does remind me of whatever the hell I was watching. I can't remember what this was anymore, but it was like a film or a show or something. And
mhm.
back in the day, glitter used to be made from glass.
Yes.
And then there was this thing where someone was just like in a bathroom stall screaming because he had glitter under his foreskin.
Yes.
Yeah, no. But it was glass. I can't remember what. If anyone remembers what that was, if anyone's seen that, please tell me because I can't remember anymore.
Ah, man, there's honestly, we could do this all day of just like
This
ones that
is,
have like stayed.
but it's just because, see, I knew this was gonna happen
Yes.
because I was like, I can't remember a damn thing, and then we start talking, and then it's just flooding you. Like,
Yes. It's
there are so many
Do
things.
you remember when we were younger and no one knew how to write a male orgasm, so it always just ended up coming off like a stroke?
What you mean with the white, like
Yeah,
everything
like
goes.
eyes widening out, going rigid. Like it's like that's a seizure.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like it's not necessarily gotten that much better because
It
now
hasn't. We still
everyone's pupils are so blown out all the time. I'm
right,
concerned. I am
right.
concerned.
It's so funny because like my other favorite thing about fanfic is how many of those of us that were writing ended up being asexual. And like they're really just mimicking, like they're really just like pulling at straws, and it's like this seems hot, and then sometimes they'll string together too many things, and it's just like this is a crime
But
because
I
like
mean,
it
some people are into that.
because like at least now like I've toured around male anatomy enough to like I still don't really write sex very realistically, but like I don't tend to marathon the way that I used to, or like oh they're just like sex after sex after sex because I know what like refractory periods like that are now. I didn't know that when I was like 13.
They
Um,
don't exist in some of my writing, I'll tell you that.
that's
These
fine.
But the then some of these boys are on drugs, and of course, I have recently learned
Yes.
in my adult life that while sex on ecstasy supposedly feels really good,
Hmm.
it's really hard to come apparently, which is goes against everything we ever wrote if someone was on
Blood
X.
vessels. Yeah. It's funny because yeah, like it ties all back into like bad medicine, bad anatomy. Like we were told like all these things, and it's like you can tell when we're fed like misinformation.
Yeah, and no one did any research. Like we
Yeah,
weren't about to
'cause
like listen, if 12 out of 12 fanfic writers can't be wrong. Like,
right, like we're all writing it the same way. We can't all be incorrect, which is why I want to wrap up because it's been almost 2 hours
yeah.
on
I guess we'll save the rest for the things that we
live.
skipped.
No, we're not doing a live this one because of we'll talk. You know what? We're doing this at CitrusCon. We'll talk about it at CitrusCon.
Yeah, definitely more of this at
Yeah.
Citrus Con.
So yeah, just know we're wrapping things up because it's been almost 2 hours.
There's more in
There's
this
so
outline.
much more in this outline, but the things that stay the same. So I'm still writing fanfic. And it's amazing to me to go back and read through and see how little has changed. I'm still trying to desperately hit beat after beat after beat after beat. And this is a dance I taught myself when I was 12 years old. Now, you can definitely tell the writing is better. I would certainly hope I've improved since I was 12. But
I
you
would say you probably have.
thank you.
I
But
would
you can
assume.
see how all of the story beats hit the same resonance. And you can tell that that's all fueled in what was old fan fiction. So, like, mine tends to be really, really episodic. It tends to be on the somewhat short end. It tends to be very, very much a concentrated scene of a sexual act. All of that are echoes of what I learned years ago.
Yeah.
We weren't necessarily writing novels full of one work. Some people did, but that definitely wasn't the
Unless you count your Matt Mello fic that has been going on for.
well, and like something like that is relatively recent. I don't think we really got stuff like that honestly until like Super Hulock era, where you started getting like the big overarching like this has been going on forever. I think most writers were pretty episodic. It might all be in the same series, but they were essentially one shots.
I mean, I mostly dabbled in the Sasunaru, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and there were like I have some they're my friends now. This is so weird. I'm friends with people that I looked up to so much when we were in that fandom together when I was a kid because they were older than me, and now we're like friends on like Twitter and things. It's very strange, but I know some people who wrote like really long multi-chapter fics back in the
Mm-hmm.
day, like, but they would rarely be more than say 20 chapters maybe. But
Mm-hmm.
now I see people are writing epics. It's like
Yeah.
147 chapters and ongoing. I'm like, bro,
More power to you. But yeah, like you can
couldn't be
see
me.
all those little echoes of who I was when I was 12.
Yeah,
Like I still use raven haired and darker haired. I still use older and younger
yeah.
male. I
Same.
still use tight ring of muscle. I still use all these things that I was using when I was 12 years old.
Okay, question. I want to because
Yeah.
I thought of something. When
Yes.
you write sex scenes, do
Yes.
you write the vocalizations or do you not? Like because I write because that was what I did. I learned to write the vocalization. So the moaning is like written out. But then I see now people do it's much more dirty talk and like swearing a
Yes.
lot.
Yes.
But we used to do the moaning.
Yes. So I now do a little bit of both.
Yeah, same.
Um, but yeah, no, I definitely remember that where we like write out the moaning. Also, do you remember when we would write sex like people have like full conversations?
When we I mean I guess I do that sometimes still. Depends.
Yeah, but like we would write like people just having like full on conversations during sex, and it's like, how bad is the sex
No,
that
but
you guys?
if it's like, because again, like you said, there was no refraction period, and when you're
Yeah.
on your fifth round, at some point you're gonna have to start talking about who's doing the laundry. Like you
Right. Like
gotta.
eventually,
You're not
when
getting
you're
anything done.
right, like I guess somewhere in between being, face down, ass up, you have to discuss, who's picking up groceries tomorrow or something.
Yeah, you
But like
know.
just having like full conversations, just like unbroken.
I will break
Which
them up with, like moaning and incoherence, but like
yes. But yeah,
I'll let them.
now it's a lot of swearing and dirty talk. I
Yeah.
will for emphasis, I will put in like a grunt or a moan, but I definitely don't do that anymore because it feels really, really cringe. Um, Flashback to me reading Omegaverse to Carola and having to do all the vocalizations,
I mean,
where you
at
just
one point you did stop doing the vocalization.
because it made me want to perish.
And then some of them were really hard. Like, how do you read some of that? Because there's a reason why we use the term garbled sounds and babbling to explain what they sound like.
Yeah, because
Because
you're not making sense.
how do you read that fucking keyboard smash? I mean, it's not, some of these sounds you can't make them unless they just randomly fall out of you naturally because you're
Yes.
being pounded into oblivion.
My favorite, and this is like old anime one, is when you are an English speaker and your fic is in English, but like you get the whole like Death Note thing of like translate this into Japanese, said in English. Or like sometimes they have to acknowledge like the characters would be speaking Japanese, but it's an English fic, and it's just like
Yeah.
no. But a lot hasn't changed. So I dropped my AO3 yesterday in prep for this episode, and
And what, in the Discord?
on Twitter.
Okay. Yeah, because I haven't been anywhere lately. I've been working.
And it's amazing that you can see if you read a lot of my fic back to back that yeah, I'm definitely following a formula, and that formula is one that was set in stone years ago. And I promise you that many of us who are writing fic also have that formula that was set in stone by someone. You can see everything about a writer in their fic. It's one of the reasons why I love like writing memes so much, where it's like, what's on your writing bingo card? Because we're not always clever. We give ourselves away. So, like, how can you tell it's an Amanda fanfic? One, I will call out random things because I feel like it. So, like, in my plant cest fic, I spend a lot of time calling out statues and music.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm weird.
But I do things like that too. And then
Yeah.
one of my favorite things that apparently that I do is that I set up and like I try to be secretive and like I try
Yes.
to build kind of like suspense to the point where I think that, again, throwing myself under the bus, but sometimes I guess it's a little overdone because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But then if you know me, you're probably going to be able to guess what's coming because I do write a certain kind of stories and a certain kind of I not trauma. I mean, they all have trauma. I guess that's what the big plot twist really is. But like, it's like I try to be secretive and build it. But if you know anything about me, you might be able to guess what's coming. Trying really
Yeah.
hard to like mysteriously foreshadow, but actually,
Yeah, it's funny because like I'll create these characters and like, look at this little ball of sunshine, and it's like, oh, he's gone. he's nope, he's
got to be
evil.
happy
Never
for
mind.
2 minutes.
Yeah, he
And
got to be
then,
happy for 2 minutes, and now he's evil. But like, you
yeah,
can see all those little echoes of who I was and who I am now. Like, if you, it's almost like when you look like sedimentary layers in like a fossil dig, where like
yeah.
you can tell what matters to me, what doesn't matter to me, what I'm reading, what I'm not reading. And you can do that all the way back. You can do that in almost any writer's work, especially their fan fiction. Is that it's almost like this weird little like time capsule of who they were and
Mm.
who they are. Like you can see all of my modern influences now. You can see the foundations that I built upon that were faulty and weird. Um It's one of the reasons why I think in BL criticism, especially, I think it's so important for younger fans to go back because without the context of knowing how we got where we are, a lot of this stuff just seems senseless and stupid. You
Yeah.
know, it's easy to say, oh, well, this is problematic, he, but you need to go back and understand why we got to where we are.
Yeah.
So dig up your old fanfic if you have it. It's going to suck. It doesn't ever get easier.
Do
And
you, sometimes you dig up something that you remember as being like the best thing you wrote, and then you read it, and then you're
and it's
like,
just like, kill me.
oh God, you know?
Right. Why did I write sex like this? Who are these people? Right. Um, good Lord, we could talk about this all day, but
I
we're
mean,
not going
we
to
truly could.
but because we have stuff to do.
Don't,
But
listen, this is like the best time I've had in weeks. I it's so nice to just get to do this instead of like constantly working on organizer stuff. Like
yes,
a moment of peace and quiet and cringe, I guess. Even though I don't believe in cringe.
I I believe in cringe as a way to grow.
Yeah.
I like cringe as a tool for growth, not as a tool for shame, because that is one thing. So I was in DC not too long ago, and I was there during Otakon, and you know that weird like clout game that fans get into when they see other weebs, and it's like, oh, I'm not like you, and it's like, no, you're worse, you're worse.
I mean, we talked about this during our meeting and
We
concluded that
did, but
we
like,
are.
yeah, but it's like it's so funny because like I saw these people going to Otakon like in their Naruto shirts, and they're like, I have Castiel on my backpack next to a blue eyes white dragon. I don't have. I'm not superior to anyone. I'm not better than you. I'm. I am you. Or it's like, common weeb. The two separate guys at the airport had these huge Itachi arm sleeves. One guy was TSA. He protects our country. And he's a weeb. And I wanted to be like indignant, like, oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe they let you have a job. You have a job, Amanda. You're the same person.
Personally, I feel safe if I knew that the TSA agent was one of us because we're really good at gatekeeping. Clearly.
Yeah, he's in the best spot. The TSA
Like,
needs to be
perfect. He's perfect.
He's perfect. But yeah, it's like we tend to think of ourselves like, oh man, I'd never do that. Yes, you did. You're worse. Deal with it.
What? Like, look at what you're doing right now. What is
Right?
this?
I'm not better.
You don't get to judge anyone.
I don't get to judge anyone. I'm not better than anyone. But with that, yes.
No, I was just gonna say I am, but when I say that, what I mean is I am worse, and I mean that as a badge of honor.
Correct. I'm also worse. And
this is what happens to you. The only reason we're worse is because we're older and we have more experience being like this.
Correct.
And this is your future.
Correct. It only gets better. So
it does.
We're going to talk about this so much more at CitrusCon, which we will be at. Oh my God, where's the calendar?
It's like the 22nd.
No, calendar dial. It is the 26th.
Where did I get 22nd?
Where did you get 22nd?
Where no, wait, I think that's the deadline I need to have my panel uploaded to. Okay.
Yes. So we will be there on the 26th talking about how BL fanfic has changed. So get ready to see this, but expanded on and with more eyeballs and more lucidity.
And if you haven't gotten tired of me talking about gravitation yet, I am doing a reprise of my gravitation panel. Hopefully.
Yes. Yeah. It's going to be very, very exciting.
I'm very excited.
Carola is going to be busy this weekend with TodoCon. I will be keeping the fort safe, as I always do.
As you always do, because I am nowhere to be found. I will go back into my little. I don't know.
Hellspace.
Yeah. No, if you are a listener who by some chance are in Norway, please come say hi if you see me at Torocon. I'll be running around like a headless chicken all day, all weekend. And if not, I'll be behind Wall Maria at the tech table. We call it Wall Maria. They build this thing around us, like they cover us up with these like really tall like curtain things. So we just started calling it Wall Maria because we can't see anything.
Every time a weeb has a wall, it's Wall Maria. Every single one. Because that's, yes. Again, we have no original ideas. All of them are echoes of the same thing.
Well, I can't help it. I'm damaged.
We can't help. We really can't help it. There's no live this month because Carola has TodoCon and we will be at CitrusCon. That is acting as our live stream.
Yeah, because we will be live.
We will be live, just not on the channel. Patrons still get their exclusive video this month. And patrons, soon you guys get to start voting on our Halloween costume. There is one obvious winner that Carola wants.
Oh, but I thought of another good one, but you'll see.
And there's an obvious winner that I want. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be really, really fun. Patrons get all different kinds of cool exclusive merch, behind the curtain peaks, and exclusive videos.
Very unhinged content.
Our last one was pretty hinged.
Yeah, which is why our two most recent, like this episode and the last main episode, were both
unhinged.
Completely off the rails.
This month on Patreon, we're either going to talk about Yoshiki Kitazawa for the entire hour.
God.
or we will expand upon what we've missed in this, because there's a whole outline that like we did not touch because we just went off the rails. We'll probably still talk about Yoshiki Kitazawa a little bit because we've done nothing but talk about Yoshiki Kitazawa.
It's very on brand.
Yeah. She is literally everywhere.
She's controlling everything at this point.
Yes. Carola, would you like to tell the listeners at home what we're covering next month?
Yeah. This is very exciting. I need to get reading.
Yes, you do.
Everyone needs to grab a very sweet, nice, tasty snack for our next episode because we're going to finally cover Antique Bakery. A whole episode dedicated to one of Amanda's favorites.
Yeah, we're finally going to cover Antique Bakery. Listeners to the old show will know that we did a Fumi Yoshinaga special early on because Fumi Yoshinaga was the original goat of the Yaoi Shelf. Now it's Maki Murakami. But Fumi Yoshinaga has always been very, very
I mean, she's great, though.
Yeah, that's not a diss to Fumi Yoshinaga. But, you know, Antique Bakery is so important to me. And again, like when you talk about like the echoes of what influences you in your work, anyone who studies Antique Bakery can see very clearly how Fumi Yoshinaga has influenced my work. And it's kind of scary and weird, but I love it.
I'm very excited because, you know, I only have the blasphemic experience of having watched the movie.
Yes.
So I'm hoping to delve into both the manga and also maybe the anime before the episode. So I will be obviously not as well equipped to talk about it as you are, but I'm very excited. I'm very excited to dive into this with you.
I'm excited for it too.
Everything.
Now, you can find us all over the social internet, including Discord, which I've gotten better at linking in the show notes. Tumblr, which we're getting better about being on. You can send us an email at theyaoishelf@gmail.com. And whatever barren island Elon Musk is trying to make Twitter.
And it will forever be Twitter.
Yeah, we're not referring to it as X.
There is only one X. Okay? And you know, in the end, Yoshiki of X Japan might save us all. And this is the funniest fucking thing that's happened to me all my life. And I love it.
Also, how dare you put Malice Miser on my TikTok in the year 2023?
How? Again, stop blaming me for TikTok things.
No,
I have not touched TikTok ever. Except for when you send me links to it.
Yeah, it's your
But
fault.
also send me a link because I happen to enjoy Marizumi Seru to be super weeby about it. But I mean, that's how they
Yeah,
pronounce it.
thanks for the weeb. Thanks for the weeb spelling.
Like, I'm sorry, but that's how they pronounce it.
Weeb. Tamaki looks so disgruntled behind you.
He has had a traumatic experience. Haven't you?
He was left on the ground. It's okay. He got hugs as soon as I brought him inside.
Yeah, and he's been getting a lot of hugs ever since. Also, he has this nice little like strap thing, and I'm just
Yes.
considering just like strapping him to me at all times. But
Just
I
wearing him like a necklace.
but I think that he would be sad. The things
But
he'd have to see.
true. Oh my god, yeah. But thank you all so much for
Thank you
being
so
here.
much.
Thank you
Remember
for
to go
sticking around.
shop with Yiggy Bean.
Yeah, go shop with Yiggy Bean for that exclusive sticker. That is very, very nice.
It is very
Uh,
nice.
I worked really, really hard. And yeah, CitrusCon's coming up. We'll keep you guys posted on that. Halloween is rapidly approaching, which I don't want to talk about. And next month, we're going to talk about a series that I love and I'm going to, make Carola read. But in the meantime, go thank a fanfic writer.
Do go thank a fanfic
Go
author.
go thank a fanfic writer. Even if the fic isn't your cup of tea, just give them a thank you. Give them a kudos and a thank you.
Tell them your favorite line or favorite moment or anything.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
we take crumbs, Sir
Oh my god, we
Courtesy.
love it. We love it. If they have wank and tell, just go ahead and tell them if that helps. I stopped using it because one person did respond to a wink and tell on one of my fics, and I had like a nervous breakdown because it's like, oh my god,
I
it
have
helped.
yet to see that tag in any of the fics I've read. I am impatiently waiting.
Oh, it's great. But thank you so much for listening.
Thank you
We'll see
so
you in the
much.
next one.
See
Bye.
you. Bye.